Hey!
Yes!
Told you, baby, I got you.
Detroit, mark it down, circle on the calendar, because Lions training camp is officially underway, and this is not just another off-season checkbox to scroll past. This is the moment the entire blueprint for the 2026 season starts to take real, physical shape in Allen Park. Before we dive in, quick note, we are Detroit Scope, and we are working hard to hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel. If you enjoy breakdowns like this one, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. It genuinely helps us keep bringing you daily Lions coverage. Okay, let's get into it, because there's a lot to unpack. We got a fifth-round rookie who might be sitting on one of the sneakiest, most dangerous value picks in the entire draft class. We've got a wide receiver room so loaded that opposing defensive coordinators are losing sleep just thinking about facing it. And we've got Penei Sewell out here handing out orange chicken like he's running for mayor of Livonia. Buckle up, because we're diving in head first. Let's start with the name you need to burn into your memory right now, Keith Abney. If you have not heard this name yet, you are about to hear it a whole lot more, because this fifth-round cornerback out of Arizona State, selected with the 157th overall pick, might be sitting on one of the single best values Detroit found anywhere on the board this year. Here's the thing about Abney. Coming out of Arizona State, he was a 2-year starter, a first-team All-Big 12 honoree, and one of the most productive corners in the entire country, with opposing quarterbacks completing barely 44% of their passes when they dared throw his way in 2025, a number that ranked among the best in the whole FBS. That kind of production usually gets you drafted on day 2, not sliding all the way into round 5. So why did he fall? Simple size. At just under 5'10", evaluators kept circling that one red flag over and over. But folks, if you've watched this franchise for more than 5 minutes, you know undersized has never scared off the Lions front office when the player has the right mentality to back it up. Detroit has built an entire identity on taking guys the rest of the league doubted and turning them into problems for everybody else. Keith Abney has that same dog mentality written all over his tape. And if that translates the way people are expecting, Detroit may have found a legitimate difference maker in the slot for pennies on the dollar. And make no mistake, the competition at that nickel cornerback spot is absolutely loaded heading into camp. You've got Roger McCreary in the mix. You've got Ennis Rakestraw fighting for reps. You've got veteran depth in Rocky Sin and Khalil Dorsey. And now you've got a rookie fifth-rounder trying to climb the depth chart with something to prove every single snap. Nobody is walking into that competition with a job handed to them. And that is exactly how you want to heading into a season where this defense simply cannot afford another shaky year in the secondary. Will Keith Abney walk in and immediately win the job in year 1? Probably not. But do not be shocked if this kid earns real, meaningful playing time by the time the regular season rolls around. For a fifth-round investment, if Abney turns into a legitimate rotational piece with real juice in that secondary, that is a home run pick that nobody outside of Detroit is talking about yet. And you heard it here first. And speaking of rookies, this entire draft class deserves your full attention heading into camp. Let's be honest with each other for a second. The last couple of draft classes felt a little underwhelming compared to what this front office produced in years prior. And part of that comes down to simple math. When you're drafting late in every round because you're winning games, the elite blue-chip talent simply is not sitting there waiting for you anymore. That's the price of success. But this year's class feels like exactly the injection of young juice this roster needed. So when you're watching camp updates roll in, do not just focus on the star names. Watch these young guys battling for their careers, because this is exactly where roster spots get won and lost every single summer. But rookies are far from the only storyline heading into camp. DJ Wonnum is a name every single Lions fan needs to be paying close attention to. Detroit brought him in during free agency specifically to help address the pass rush off the edge, and now it's time to see if that investment actually pays off on the field. This defense needs anybody, to step up opposite the established names on that front, and Wonnum has the pedigree to be that guy. Training camp is his opportunity to prove the front office made the right call, and honestly, this entire pass rush might be riding on it. Then there's the offensive line, and this one isn't about watching a single player. It's about watching an entire unit try to gel together in real time under brand new circumstances. Penei Sewell is sliding over to the left side, a massive shift for arguably the best young tackle in football. And right now, there is genuine uncertainty about who exactly locks down that vacated left guard spot. That is a lot of moving pieces up front for a unit that has been one of the driving engines behind this entire offensive era in Detroit. Training camp is where all of that fluctuation either settles into cohesion or turns into a real concern, and every single fan should have their eyes locked on those offensive line reps the moment pads come on. Now let's talk defensive line, because this might genuinely be the single most important storyline of the entire camp. Alim McNeill. Everybody wants to know the same thing. Is he back? All off-season long, the reports out of Allen Park have been glowing. McNeill talking about how good he feels, how strong he feels, how ready he is to reclaim his dominant form in the middle of that defensive line after the injury that derailed things. If that's true, if Alim McNeill really is back to the disruptive force we saw before that injury, that is enormous news for a Lions defense that desperately missed his interior power last season. And here's where it gets even more exciting. Pair a fully healthy McNeill with a young interior piece who flashed real promise down the stretch last year. And if those two click together up front, this Lions defense could take a legitimate, tangible step forward. That's not wishful thinking. That's a realistic path to fixing one of the biggest question marks on this entire roster. And we cannot talk about training camp without addressing DJ Reed directly. Detroit's own team insiders have named Reed one of the single most valuable players on this roster. And here's why that matters so much. This secondary struggled last season. There's no sugarcoating it. There were entire stretches where this defense got lit up drive after drive after drive. Detroit paid DJ Reed real money in free agency to be the stabilizing force back there. And now it's time to see the return on that investment. He cannot walk into this training camp and this season and, to put it bluntly, stink up the joint. He has to bring the exact same intensity and consistency we saw from him during OTAs and minicamp and carry it all the way into padded practices and into the regular season. Because here's the hard truth nobody wants to say out loud. This defense has got to step up in 2026. Detroit cannot keep leaning entirely on the offense to bail this team out every single week. That formula works during the regular season sometimes, but it does not work deep into January when the margins get razor thin. Now let's pivot to the offensive side of the ball, because there's a player who does not get nearly enough credit for how vital he is to this entire operation, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Everybody wants to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. Everybody wants to talk about Jared Goff. Everybody wants to talk about Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams. And look, all of those conversations are valid. All of those players are legitimate stars. But the engine, the every down grinder who blocks, who runs the tough underneath routes, who bails Jared Goff out on third down time and time again, that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let's rewind to last season for a second and be completely honest about what happened. St. Brown was dealing with a wrist injury for a significant chunk of the year, and it affected him. He was dropping passes he normally catches in his sleep because he simply was not 100% healthy. And when Amon-Ra St. Brown is not right, this entire offense feels it. Jared Goff leans on him constantly on third down, and without a healthy St. Brown bailing him out, this offense was, in a word, hurting. But get him healthy, get him back to full strength, and suddenly this entire offense is skating on ice, smooth, dangerous, nearly unstoppable. And here's the part that should have every single Lions fan absolutely giddy heading into this season. The expectation for this entire wide receiver room are through the roof, and rightfully so. Is this the room with the single best number one receiver in football? Maybe not on paper, but as a complete unit, top to bottom, this might genuinely be the best wide receiver room in the entire NFL. Think about that combination. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, the crafty route runner who always finds the soft spot in a defense no matter the coverage. You've got Jameson Williams, take it to the house speed on every single snap, a legitimate home run threat anytime the ball touches his hands. And now you've got a second receiver developing into that same explosive, take the top off the defense threat. That is a terrifying combination for any defensive coordinator to prepare for, and Detroit just handed the offensive coordinator keys to a brand new offense built around it, with Drew Petzing stepping in this offseason to replace John Morton after just one season at the helm. Petzing spent the last 3 years running the show in Arizona, and now he inherits a group of playmakers most coordinators would kill for. Add in Sam Laporta drawing attention over the middle, and suddenly Jared Goff has more big play weapons than he knows what to do with. Getting everybody involved, spreading the football around to all these dangerous pieces, that's going to be one of the defining storylines of this offense in 2026. But make no mistake, all of it starts with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Here's what really makes St. Brown special, though, and it goes beyond the stat sheet entirely. This is a guy reportedly catching over 200 balls in a single practice session. That is not normal. That is obsessive. That is a work ethic that borders on manic, and it's exactly the kind of habit that spreads through an entire locker room. You have to wonder, genuinely wonder, whether Jameson Williams matures into the professional he's become without watching St. Brown grind like that every single day. This locker room is packed with mature leaders on and off the field. And that culture, that internal competition, that refusal to settle, is exactly what breeds sustained excellence. So here's the question worth asking yourself right now. How many touchdowns does Amon-Ra St. Brown put up in 2026? 10? 15? 20? Whatever number you land on, get ready, because this receiver room is coming for opposing defenses all season long. And finally, a fun little piece of news to close things out, because not everything in Lions land has to be about wins and losses and depth charts. Penei Sewell is doing something genuinely cool for the fan base, showing up to meet fans directly at a Panda Express in Livonia to celebrate the return of hot orange chicken, complete with a hot take challenge. If you're in that area, mark your calendar, because this is your chance to meet one of the best young offensive tackles in football, grab a photo, get an autograph, and maybe hear him drop a few genuine thoughts about the upcoming season. And knowing how these events go, do not be surprised if Sewell gets peppered with questions about Drew Petzing's new offense, about Jared Goff, about whether this team has legitimate Super Bowl aspirations in 2026. There is real concern out there about certain parts of this roster, and we'll be straight with you. We share some of that concern, but is not on the offensive side of the ball. This offense, the personnel, the coaching is absolutely stacked. If there's a concern, it sits squarely with the defense. That side of the ball needs continued development, needs the right roster pieces to fall into place, and honestly needs a little bit of good fortune too. Somebody stepping up out of nowhere off the edge, somebody emerging as a difference maker in that secondary. That is exactly what training camp is for, finding those hidden gems before the lights turn on in September. So there you have it, Detroit. Training camp is here, and there has never been a more important stretch to pay close attention to everything happening in Allen Park. Rookies fighting for roster spots, a defensive line looking to reclaim its dominant identity, a secondary desperate to prove last year was the exception and not the rule, and a wide receiver room that might just be the best complete unit in all of football. This season is shaping up to be an absolute roller coaster, and we could not be more excited to bring you every single update along the way. If you enjoyed breaking down all of this Lions news with us today, do us a favor and smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel grow more than you'd think. Drop a comment down below and let us know how many touchdowns you're predicting for Amon-Ra St. Brown this season, and which rookie you're most excited to watch as camp gets rolling. And remember, we are Detroit Scope, and we are working hard to hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, what in the world are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, because we've got Lions news dropping constantly, and you do not want to miss a single update heading into this monumental 2026 season. Thanks for watching, Detroit. We'll see you in the next one.